Do, do, do. Hi there. Hi there. Welcome to my 1059 Facebook Live broadcast. I'm Henry Beyer with Strong for Life. It's nice to have you here. Nice to have you replay viewers. Like this week has been a strange week. I had a number of things go sideways, and it seems like that's been the theme for the last couple of weeks or so. Anyway, I went skiing on Sunday, and I tore the binding off my ski, the front binding off my ski, and then on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I got this wicked bad sinus cold. I usually don't do these on Mondays. Last one I did was last Friday, and then I don't usually do them on Mondays. And then I was in bed basically Tuesday and Wednesday, still recovering a little bit from this sinus infection. But like, I got to get on and just do one of these. So I'm here, I'm back. And if you're wondering about me, that's what's been happening. And then the other thing that went kind of crazy. So I had this ski binding pull off. And well, I'll tell you about that later. Let's first just say thanks again for being here. Thanks to your replay viewers for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about putting your plan into action. We talked a lot about planning in February, and now we're into almost the middle of March, and we're still on planning. And I've probably had only a couple of these broadcasts for March, and maybe that's just the way it was meant to be. Maybe the implementing the planning was not meant to be every day. The universe was like, that's going to be too much. So, but the implementing the plan is critical. And one of the things that we didn't really get into with planning was what is an actual sort of training plan, like a 3-week training plan look like, and what exercises are in there. I mean, we did talk about exercises and what you can choose, but so I'm going to share with you a plan that I have. It's basically a plan that I have for a client of mine, and it's a good example of how to have your plan laid out. And that's part of implementing it, is so that you're like, okay, there's all these different exercises that I can do and sets and rep schemes and things like that. But how does it all land on the page so that I can go to the gym and do it? So we're going to show you that today. But before that, we have our quote of the day. And I got to tell you, if I seem a little off, it is because of this sinus thing. They really wreck me when I get them, and I don't get them that often. I was just the other day, I was thinking, I haven't gotten one of these in a while, and then whammo, here it is. So let's do the quote of the day first. This is probably, it's a Star Wars quote, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our point of view. So have you ever, there's these studies that psychologists do to figure things out, right? And one of them was involved a football game. I don't remember. It might have been like a Dartmouth football game or something like that, or a UPenn football game or something. And, they polled each, all the fans are in the stadium, and they're watching the exact same game. Right. And at the end of it, they, polled spectators that were fans of both teams. Right. And when you talk to them, like it was as if they saw like a totally different game, even though they saw the same game. So our point of view, the point of that is like our point of view has a significant impact on how we look at the world. So, the fans that were pro one team and let's say calls went in, there were some calls that went in favor of that team, right? And so that team's like, oh, those were great calls. And then the other team, the fans of the other team, they're like, those are terrible calls. They should never have been called. And they see the exact same thing, but the meaning they give to what they see is completely different. And so many of the things that we tend to take as truths in the world are more based on our point of view than they are actually truth or factual. So let me try and give you an example. So, so I'm around 68 inches, not 6'8", 68 inches. That's 5'8". Now, if you gave someone a tape measure and had them measure me, that would be roughly the height they would get. And if you did that with several people using the same measurement, they would get the same height. And that there is basically a fact, right? That's how tall I am at this point in time, right? If you looked at me and said, well, if you looked at my eyes and you were familiar with the color spectrum and what was called blue, you would look at my eyes and say, I have blue eyes. That's another one, right? But I'll give you another one, and then we can talk about what is truth and what is, or what we see to be true or whatever is different than what might actually be true. So if you measure the temperature outside right now, I don't know what it is. This morning it was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So anybody who has a thermometer and came over here, it'd be 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But depending on the person, someone might say it's cold, but another person who is used to living in colder temperatures might have their point of view might be, well, that's not cold. That's kind of warm. Like if you lived in Norway or something like that, 10 degrees might not be cold for you. It might be warmish. So those are the difference. Something that we can measure, and with the same instrument, you can get the same thing over and over again. That is a fact. And then it's the point of view of the person that applies meaning to the thing. So we're just talking about, this is what Obi-Wan is talking about. Many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our point of view. So they're not as such truths as many of us might believe. They're more our personal feelings or interpretations or meanings that we give to things. So that's why people get into disagreements about stuff, is because they have different points of view, but sometimes they hold those views as truths and then collide with someone who holds a different point of view. Anyway, thanks. See, I like, my brain is just not working properly today. And so I thank you for your patience. And let's get on to something that I might be able to talk a little bit more concisely about now. So being sick is totally a pain in the neck. So don't, do things that help you not get sick. And sometimes you just can't avoid it, right? And I am pretty healthy. I eat pretty well. I get exercise. I do all that. I drink a lot of water, and I try to get adequate rest, and yada, yada, yada. And sometimes you just get sick. And when you get sick, it stinks. My opinion about getting sick is that when it happens, if you're in a position where you can do this and you can just be like, let yourself be sick, if it's a cold or something like that, they tend to just like run through your body. When you start taking things to suppress the symptoms, then sometimes these things can drag on and on. But honestly, it can take a couple of days for the worst part of it to roll through to where you're able to function again. I used to get sinus infections a lot, and so I have a lot of experience with this, and I have not gotten them as much in the last few years. But one of the things that I learned when I was going through this period of time when I got a lot of sinus infections and upper chest infections and things like that, it's because my nose is all messed up and blah, 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 is that during the day, you sort of want to let your whole sinus situation just do its thing and drain out and just let it be, right? And then at night, in order to help you sleep, maybe take a decongestant so you're able to breathe. One of the things that happened to me was not last night, but the night before was I fell asleep okay, and then in the middle of the night I woke up and my nose was so stuffed up, and then I could not breathe through it. And so this is one of these things that's happening lately, or that I've been trying lately, that I learned from a couple of different sources, is taping your mouth shut at night to help you breathe through your nose at night. Breathing through your nose all the time during the day and at night is super important. And one of the ways to train yourself to do that is to tape your mouth shut while you sleep. So I had a piece of tape over my mouth, but my nose got so stuffed up that I couldn't breathe anymore. So I had to take it off. And then when I woke up in the morning, my mouth was so dry. It was like someone had just shoved a whole container of cotton into my mouth. It was like the worst experience. So if you have sinus stuff and you want to sleep well at night, it's a good idea to maybe take a decongestant, not one that's for sleeping at night. Because if you take one that is like a daytime one, it probably will keep you up. So take one that is a nighttime one so that you can sleep through the night. And then during the day, just let your body release whatever is in there. And if you can, sometimes for me, these typically come with a fever. Whenever I get these things, and this is why they're particularly bad, is because when I get these infections, they're bad enough that I get fevers and I need to be in bed. And fortunately, usually when it happens, I'm able to be in bed and just let the thing go. But when you get a fever, again, try not to suppress those symptoms. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but if you can, try to just let the fever do its thing. Because what the fever is, it's just your body's response to the infection or whatever is going on. And it's just trying to get it out of your body, right? So the fever is a good thing. If you try to suppress the fever, then your body doesn't have the tools to clear yourself of whatever infection or that you have going on. So try to let the fever run through. So when it comes to these sinus infections, that's the thing. I mean, when I was not really in a position where I could just stay in bed for 2 days and let the thing just burn through me, I would end up just having to get antibiotics. I'd go to the doctor. They'd be like, you got this thing. They'd give me the antibiotics. I'd go to work. I'd be hacking it up. I'd feel lousy for 2 weeks. And now I might get, 3 is, I think this maybe started on Saturday. So more like 4 days. So I can let the thing within about 5 days, I can be usually clear of this thing. And 2 of those days is when I am most debilitated by the infection and the cold or the whatever you want to call it. But that's been my experience. The more you can just let your body handle these things, the better. But if you have trouble sleeping at night, take a decongestion at night. And I mean, I can, my voice is feeling it. There's just my brain is a little whacked because of this whole thing. So anyways, That's my sad story. All right, let's talk about the plan. So I need to share the screen here. Share this, share screen. We want an application window, and we want this one here. Boom. Share. And we'll bring this back up. And, oh, we want this like this. All right. Oh, God, you can't really see this. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, how does this work? I don't know how this works. How about I share the screen like this? All right. This works a little bit better. You can't see me, but you can see the screen. So, oh, let me get rid of this banner. Hide banner. There we go. All right. So this is a 3-week strength training plan. And it has week 1, week 2, week 3, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of hard to see. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can increase. What can I do here? Zoom in. Let's make it 200%. All right. There we go. Here we go. This is better. We can just look. This will work nicely. And I'll scroll it down for these ones at the bottom. So this is 3 weeks of training. This column is for, and there's 2 days a week of training. So, I mean, part of your planning would be like, I can train for 2 days. Now, this particular individual is a runner and runs 4 days a week. So we didn't want to put in, and he can train 6 days, and it's been running 4 days a week. And so we're like, okay, well, let's do 2 days of strength training. So this person will be strength training 2 days a week. Okay. And he has, on each training day, he has 3 groups of exercises. This is just one example, right? 3 groups of exercises. And the dumbbell clean and the kettlebell swing, day 1 and day 2, these are the same types of exercise. These are power exercises meant for developing power. The front plank and the reach plank, they are core exercises. Then we have a group of exercises which fall into, we have sumo deadlift is a hip dominant exercise. A push-up is a horizontal pushing exercise. The pull-up is a vertical pulling exercise. The split squat is a knee dominant exercise. So this program is split up in very specific ways. So we have some power, we have some core, we have hip dominant, we have pushing, we have pulling, and we have knee dominant exercises. This is a nice way to break up exercises so that you are sure to work on these different areas of your body. Also, the split squat is a single leg exercise. I mean, you're on both legs, but the focus is on the strengthening the front leg in this exercise. So this is also more of a unilateral type exercise, which in most cases, unless you are a power lifter or you're an Olympic lifter, so much of what you do is unilateral. That means it involves one limb at a time instead of bilateral, which involves both legs. So in this program, the emphasis is on unilateral exercises. Push-ups are bilateral, and so are the pull-ups. But these half kneeling, alternating overhead presses are unilateral. You can do rows that are unilateral as well. But for the time being, these are set up as just bilateral exercises. So this is one thing to notice about this plan, is that we are hitting these different key areas. We're hitting some power, we're hitting some core exercise, we're hitting some hip dominant, pulling, pushing, pulling, and knee dominant exercises. 2-day programs are challenging because you don't have as much time to do more exercises. So you have to make decisions about what you're going to include. So then on day 2, it's the same progression, but here we have a knee dominant exercise. We're starting with a knee dominant exercise, and we're doing our the pushing, where the pushing stays in the same location. So we have this is a vertical push now. So here we had a horizontal push and a vertical pull. In this one, we have a vertical push and a horizontal pull. You're just moving these things, moving these little chess pieces around into in a way that allows you to get all these different types of movements into your training plan. And then we have a single leg hinge movement, which is a single leg deadlift. This is a hip dominant movement. So in this week, we have 2 hip dominant movements. We have 2 knee dominant movements. We have 2 pushing movements, 1 horizontal, 1 vertical, and we have 2 pulling movements, 1 vertical and 1 horizontal. And there's a nice plan. This will be a well-rounded plan for developing your athletic ability. Now, so that's an example of exercise selection. Now look at what we're doing with some of these set and rep schemes here. Now, power movements, we tend to use lower volume of reps, because these are they tend to be more technical exercises. And so they demand more in that regard. So you don't want to be doing a high volume when your ability to do the exercise starts to decline, like the skill level of your ability starts to decline. So that's one reason why we have these as 5 reps. Now in week 1, we do two sets of 5 reps. Poundage is selected based on, well, in this case, based on what the client has available. So they could be a little light, but it works for now. And this is also the beginning. This is the first section of his training plan, which is really a 3-week. This is really a 12-week plan. So he's going to go through 4 of these 3-week schedules. So this one is really called accumulation or anatomical adaptation. And the goal here is just to get him doing the exercises, get him doing lighter weight with higher reps, and just getting the body ready for doing heavier weight in the next section. So even if this weight seems a little light, it's meant to be that way. And in week 1, he's doing 2 sets of 5 reps. So a total of 10 reps. In the next week, he's doing 3 sets of 5 reps. So a total of 15 reps for the clean. And depending on what you were doing, you could go to more sets of the same amount of reps. In this 3rd week, you could do the same amount of reps. Well, we wouldn't want to go much above 5 here. So here you could add more sets. But what we chose to do is increase the weight. So each week, the difficulty of the training session increases. It increases from week 1 to week 2 by adding an additional set of 5 reps. And from week 2 to week 3, it increases by adding 10 pounds to the weight. These are options for how you progress from week to week, and you want this progression to happen. You'll see the same thing with the planks. In this case, we did 3 sets at 10 seconds, 3 sets at 15 seconds, and 3 sets at 20 seconds. So here we just, instead of manipulating sets, we manipulated reps. And one of the things that you have to think about when you're doing this is the time constraints that you have. The more sets that you involve, generally the longer it's going to take to do these exercises. Now, these sets, you could do all of these. You could do these as a superset. You could do you come here. So a superset is when you do 2 exercises back to back, and then you take a rest. So one option would be to do that. You could do the double clean and then immediately go to your plank, and then you take a rest you could take a 1-minute rest there if you wanted. 1 to 2 minute rest after you did this. The other option for doing this is you could do the double clean, rest 1 minute and do your front planks, and then rest another minute and then go back to your dumbbell cleans. And then, so because you're using different primary muscles for these exercises, then while you're resting and while you're doing this other exercise, you're getting rest for this exercise. And that's one way to do that. Okay. So these other schemes work out about the same way. We just use, for the sumo deadlift, we just have more reps, but the same thing is happening here. 2 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8 at increased weight. This could have gone 2 sets of 8, 2 sets of 10, 2 sets of 12. There's a variety of ways you could have done this. 2 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10 using the same weight. So these are just different methods for progressing from week to week. Here, again, 2 sets of 8, 2 sets of 10, 2 sets of 12. Just one way that we set that up for doing those exercises. Part of that reason was to keep was to minimize the number of sets that we were doing, though this one could have been set up as 3 sets of 8 and then 3 sets of 10 over here and kept the sets the same. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, that's what we did down here with the split squat. So it might be a better option for doing supersets here. This one, so it's, again, this superset you would do as you do the sumo deadlift, and then you do your push-ups right after it, and then you take your break, 2-minute break. Here we have pull-ups. These pull-ups are designed a little bit differently. This is making the assumption that this individual can do 1 body weight pull-up. So they do the body weight pull-up, they rest, or they do their split squat, and then they come back and do the body weight pull-up. They'll have to finish. There's only 2 sets of this and 4 sets of this. So you can see in the way this is done, sets comes first, reps comes second. And BW means body weight. So you just work that out. Here, again, this one here was done where it was 2 times 8, 3 times 8, 3 times 10. So again, when you're going from week to week, what you're trying to do is have each week you're doing a bit more work. Same number of sets, but more reps per set in week 3 compared to week 2 here. All right. So now let me just drop down. Let me pull this thing up and then let me just scroll this through to here. like this. We'll get it down to that. And then we'll come back to the screen. So here we are. So we also wanted to get in just a little bit more exercises during the week. So we ends up having 4 days of strength training, though these strength training exercises, they don't take a lot of time, and they could be done as part of your warm-up as well, or part of a cool down. So on Tuesday, this would actually be a good part of a warm-up. Half get up, 3 each side. And you can see we just add 1 rep per week to this. It's actually, you're adding 2 reps because each week, because it's each side. So this is a 2 rep increase, and this is a 2 rep increase. The inchworm, we just added, we wanted to keep the sets for this one in particular. For this day, since it's a warm up, we wanted to keep the sets to a minimum, because the more sets you have, the more time it's going to take, because it takes longer time to do set than it does to add an extra rep. So we did 2 sets of 3, 2 sets of 4, 2 sets of 5 here in the inchworm. And then the farmer carry, we kept the sets the same. We kept the weight the same. We just added seconds. We increased this 100% from week 1 to week 2. And then we increased it 50. It just worked out that way. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, increased it 50% here. The seconds could have been different. It could have been 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever. I wanted to get to 90 seconds, and this weight is not super heavy for this. So I think that was just a good way to go. So that is, hold on one second. Let me just, we'll just scooch this over here to here and see if there's any sort of changes on this one over here. So this one, the choice of time for like the planks. So we want this to be a strength exercise, not an endurance exercise. So for planks, to have it be a strength exercise, we want it to be between 10 and 20 seconds, and really focus on hard contractions here and not focusing on endurance. So this is why this is 20 seconds. And so as you do it for sets, I think each week. So hold on one second. So let's just see here. 3 sets. Yep. So I was wondering if the sets were the same. The sets were the same for these. So 3 sets of 10, 3 sets. It could have been 2 sets. Could have been 2 sets on day 1 and 3 sets on day 2. There's just different ways to approach this. But from week to week, this progression. You can also make some progression in from day to day as well, training day to training day. These are just different ways to build in the progression and different types of exercises that you can do to make sure you're hitting all the dominant areas for your body. And so that's just one example of how to lay out a plan. And what I'll do is I think I'll attach this PDF to I'll make one of these, and I'll just attach a PDF to this, and then you are able to look at it more closely at your leisure and sort of see what's going on. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, it's time for me to stop talking now because you can hear my voice is getting a little bit more hoarse from this cold. But yeah, there we go. That's just a sample plan from that I have for a client, and it has a collection of exercises that hits different qualities in the body. It's doing a hip dominant exercise, a knee dominant exercise, a pushing, a pulling exercise. We have some power exercises. We have some core work. And then we have some other auxiliary exercises to help round out the whole thing. And look back at the PDF document that I'll post, and then you can sort of look at how things were set up in terms of making things progress. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. This is just one way, but it's a pretty sound way for making progress. And the last thing is, as I said, this is a 3-week chunk of training out of 12 weeks. So there'll be 3 more of these. We have what we're calling accumulation or anatomical adaptation next, or right now. In the next 3 weeks, we might have really what's called intensification is one way to do it. Max strength is another way to talk about that. So what will end up happening is the weight will go up and the sets, the reps will come down and the sets will stay about the same. But it'll be about building more strength. And then after that, there's, 2 more rounds of different sorts of things. But this is, when you're implementing your plan, this is how you implement it. And it all is based on what you're trying to accomplish and things like that. So all these things are interrelated. So thanks for swinging by today. Thanks to you replay viewers. Apologies for my, a little bit about my voice, or thanks for your patience with my voice and for my little bit of spaciness that I have today. And if you got any questions about any of this, shoot me a message and I'm happy to answer your questions. So thanks to you Facebook viewers and you YouTube live viewers. It's great to have you here, and we'll be trying to do one tomorrow as well. We'll just see how I feel. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Oh, and don't forget that in the morning, I haven't done this week. I've only done it Monday. I didn't do it for these 3 days, but hopefully tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 8:30 Eastern, I'll be able to get out and do my morning movement and mobility thing that I've been doing. It's 30 minutes starting at 8:30 Eastern, and you can come and join me for that if you like. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.